Good morning, everybody. How we doing? This fine April 9th, 2024, Tuesday. Welcome to the Premarket Prep session. This is our daily session where before that bell rings, we're going over the important news, notes, analysis, trade ideas, expectations to make sure you're on the right side of the way big money is moving throughout the week. So if you tuned in yesterday, then that was a big leg up for you, a big hack, a big insider tip, because yesterday we actually had our lowest volume trading day on the S&P in months since I think Black Friday or near Black Friday. So since November of last year. And why that's important is because those are the days that blow up your account when you're trying to make something happen and there isn't really anything to happen, right? Knowing when the market is supposed to be choppy is one of the biggest hacks that you can have when trading markets, because you keep your buying power strong. You don't deploy it, that, buying power isn't worn down by theta, and you're not sitting there, kind of like hoping for something to happen, and there's no reason to be wasting that physical or mental capital. So great day yesterday, and we're looking to follow that up with another good day today and dive into what we have going on. So as always, we're here to get 1% better each and every day, hammering away at it, staying consistent. Consistency and hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard and stay consistent. So that's what we're doing here, making sure that we have that leg up every single day. I'm excited to get into what we got going on. But make sure you drop those ones in the chat, whether you're watching live or via replay, signifying your intention to get 1% better. Got back out there on the running trail today. Felt good. Thought I wasn't going to do the full, 2.5 miles, and I did end up doing it. So proud of myself for that. I always encourage getting anything, whether it's normal work, right, or some type of physical movement in before the market, so that you come in with some momentum as that bell opens and you're not sitting flat-footed and possibly getting caught off guard. All right, to our top news here, Plan B. The Biden administration is doubling down on efforts to cancel student loan debt with a new initiative that is aimed at forgiving the bills of around 30 million Americans. Quote, while a college degree still is a ticket to the middle class, that ticket is becoming much too expensive. President Biden declared, I'm not stopping. The latest pitch builds on the dozens of executive actions taken to cancel $146 billion for 4 million borrowers, which followed a Supreme Court decision from last summer that struck down a broader proposal aimed at eliminating nearly a quarter of America's $1.7 trillion in outstanding student debt. In terms of a snapshot searching for alternative paths to debt forgiveness, the White House has amended the payments of public service workers and made changes to income-driven repayment plans. It also made debt cancellation available via administrative adjustments and for borrowers with disabilities. The latest plan would also be targeted, impacting borrowers with balances greater than what they originally borrowed and those who have been in repayment for at least 2 decades. Wow, crazy. Eligibility would also be extended to students who attended institutions that couldn't participate in federal loan programs or those who are at risk of default or other financial hardship. Quote, when the Supreme Court struck down the president's boldest student debt relief plan within hours, we said, quote, we won't be deterred. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona declared, today's announcement shows that we're continuing to fulfill our promises. Expect additional legal challenges this time around, but the new measures could have more weight in court given their scope and basis on the Higher Education Act of 1965 instead of the National Emergency-Focused HEROES Act of 2003. So it looks like they're taking a new legal avenue that might give them more of a chance in court by, basing it off of this Higher Education Act as opposed to this HEROES Act. In terms of outlook, the concept of student debt cancellation, even if it would pass through Congress, continues to divide the country. Some say it would benefit borrowers at a time of high inflation, while others have flagged it as an unfair measure for those who chose not to go to college because of the cost, don't have loans, or have already paid them off. Some economists even maintain that debt forgiveness can be a contributor to higher prices or encourage colleges and universities to continue raising their tuition costs, which is valid, right? If, these tuition costs are super high and people can't pay them back, and then suddenly the government just dives in to pay them off. If I'm the colleges and universities, I'm like, all right, we're getting paid from somebody, so why decrease the cost? The only way they're going to decrease the cost of college is if people stop going, right, and the demand decreases. Let's see here. Some economists even maintain that debt forgiveness can be a contributor to higher prices or encourage colleges. We said that. Student loan related stocks include Navient, ticker NAVI, Nelnet, ticker NNI, Sallie Mae, ticker SLM, and SoFi, ticker SOFI. high. Yeah, I feel like this is something that we hear, every few months where it's like, hey, I'm going to, cancel student loan debt. And I get it. That's not something that the president can do unilaterally. And he has tried multiple times. But it's one of those things where it's like, is this ever actually going to get done? I don't know, right? Kind of feeling like no, but we'll see. We'll have to see if that ends up manifesting or not. But I feel like we hear this every so often, and it's kind of just feeling like a re-election plea at this point. In terms of economic news, higher rates equals higher inflation. It might be a radical equation, but JP Morgan's Jack Manley believes it to be the case. Quote, you slice and dice inflation, and whether you're looking at the headline number, whether you're looking at the core number, you're removing the goods equation. So much of it has to do with the rate environment, he explained, adding that there won't be downward pressure on inflation until shelter costs cool down. With recent inflation reports surprising to the upside, markets are now pricing in just 2 rate cuts this year, with some starting to speculate there may be none at all. Powell told us that there will be until he tells us different. That's what we have to expect, and make our decisions based off of that. What's nice is that even without rates being decreased, we're finding plenty of sectors that are pushing with enough bullish sentiment to pay us continuously over the course of the long term. And that's all we need, right? That's where you want to get to, a point where you're not relying on one thing or another, a policy, a president, a law, right? I don't want my fate to be determined based off of that, right? And I won't leave it up to that. And we haven't been leaving it up to that, to the interest rates. In terms of tech news, past the chips, the Biden administration is expected to award more than $6 billion to Samsung Electronics next week to support the expansion of its chip production facility in Texas. The award is expected to be the third largest of the recent grants under the Chips and Sciences Act behind Taiwan Semiconductor, which secured up to $6.6 billion in grants, and Intel, who received up to $8.5 billion. The Chips and Science grants are aimed at bolstering domestic manufacturing as well as reducing reliance on China and Taiwan. Which is funny because, some of that money is going to Taiwan Semiconductors. Trade. Sino Spotlight, wrapping up a 4-day trip to China, U.S. Secretary Janet Yellen called on Beijing to change its industrial policy. At issues are artificially cheap Chinese products that are flooding the global market, threatening the viability of American and foreign firms. She also recalled the, quote, China shock of the 2000s that caused millions of job losses, firmly stating that the U.S., quote, will not accept that reality again. In response, Chinese Premier Li Qiang said that the U.S. must, quote, abide by the basic norms of market economy, including fair competition and open cooperation, and view the issue of production capacity objectively. I saw, Janet out there living her best life. She was chugging beers at Chinese pubs and all this stuff. So hopefully that helps them to stop knocking off, American tech and products, but not likely. Today's markets, mixed look across the board here. In Asia, Japan up 1.1%, Hong Kong up 0.6%, China up 0.1%, India down 0.1%. The FTSE in London up 0.1%, Paris down 0.5%, Frankfurt down 0.7%, the Dow down 0.1%, S&P down 0.1%, NASDAQ down 0.1%, crude up 0.1%, so basically everything flat. Gold up 1%, Bitcoin up 2.1%. Love to see that gold pushing. What else is happening? WSB survey results. Robo-taxis are seen as another niche market. Didi looks to get in on the game with 2025 target. I believe, if I remember correctly, Didi was like the Chinese version of Uber. Jamie Dimon, rates could spike to 8%. AI akin to the printing press. Trump media, I agree, right? The printing press was what, besides like fire, in terms of like the most influential inventions ever, the printing press was huge because it allowed us to transfer knowledge, right? When you could take knowledge, write it down, and mass produce it, that allowed you to build on the discoveries that were made, as opposed to like one guy discovers something. If he doesn't tell his friend and his friend doesn't remember it down to a T, then it's lost to time forever, right? We've had so many times throughout time where we had, amazing civilizations that were so much further ahead than what followed for 200 or 300 years after. But it was because, those documents and the knowledge that was accrued wasn't able to be passed on. So I think that's a great, analogy, right? Kind of comparing the two, AI to the printing press, because I think it has as much of an effect. So those two things remain, the absolute most important mandates of 2024 and beyond, which is put your money to work for you, right? In whatever form or shape that looks like. and learn AI in whatever form or shape that looks like. In terms of Trump Media, ticker DJT in free fall as the stock starts week in the red. Blackstone, ticker BX, scoops up apartment income REIT AIRC, AIRC, for $10 billion. So it's apartment income REIT, and then the ticker is AIRC. So Blackstone scooped them up. Tesla settles lawsuit over man's death in autopilot crash. BlackBerry, ticker BB, AMD Inc. partnership on next era robotic technology. I'd love that. I'd love to see BlackBerry stick around. I never had a BlackBerry, but they always like intrigue me. So I'd love to see them stick around, and it would be pretty awesome to have a little BlackBerry hardware robot running around, cleaning up. I don't know. Gold hits another record high. Shocker, not at all. China's adds gold yet again. Guyana gas to power project delays could cut weeks off oil production. Fed's Kashkari central bank can't stop short on inflation fight. Shut up, dude. We do not care, right? But listen, guys, we had a great day yesterday. Not wasting money. That qualifies as a great day, especially in markets where we're literally going sideways nonstop, and we had the lowest volume day that we've had in months on the S&P. Knowing when to hold them and knowing when to fold them is key, and you get that amazing insider information right by being here, which happens for free each and every day before the market rings. So make sure that you're here for that. Invest in yourself. That's always going to net the base return. I'll see you guys back here tomorrow morning for our next pre-market prep session. Have a good one, everybody. Peace.